Hi guys, and welcome back to James and the Giant Peach. So just to review what we did last time, we were reading about how James crawled into the peach. It was a huge peach, and he crawled into the hole, and he crawled all the way into the stone or the peach pit that's in the middle. It's kind of like a little nut, but it's the seed. And he got in, and then he heard a voice say, "Look who's here!" And then another one said, "We've been waiting for you." And then he got really nervous and he wanted to leave, but he couldn't. He was locked in. All right. Chapter 11. James' frightened eyes traveled slowly around the room. The creatures, some sitting on chairs, others reclining on a sofa, were all watching him intently. Creatures, or were they insects? An insect is usually something rather small, is it not? A grasshopper, for example, is an insect. So what would you call it if you saw a grasshopper as large as a dog? As large as a large dog. You could hardly call that an insect, could you? There was an old green grasshopper as large as a large dog, sitting on a stool directly across the room from James right now. And next to the old green grasshopper, there was an enormous spider. And next to the spider, there was a giant ladybug with 9 black spots on her scarlet red shell. And each of these three was squatting upon a magnificent chair. On a sofa nearby, reclining comfortably in a curled up position, there was a centipede and an earthworm. I hope you remember what a centipede is. It kind of looks like a worm, but it has like a bunch of legs, tons and tons of legs. Ugh. On the floor in the far corner, there was something thick and white that looked like it might be a silkworm, but it was sleeping soundly and nobody was paying any attention to it. Now there's a great picture of this, so I'm going to show you that. This is the centipede right here. It's all the legs. All right. Every one of these creatures was at least as big as James himself, and in the strange greenish light that shone down from somewhere in the ceiling, they were absolutely terrifying to behold. "I'm hungry," the spider announced suddenly, staring hard at James. "I'm famished," said the old green grasshopper. "So am I," the ladybug cried. The centipede sat up a little straighter on the sofa. "Everyone's famished. We need food." 4 pairs of round, black, glassy eyes were all fixed upon James. The centipede made a wiggling movement with his body, as though he were about to glide off the sofa, but he didn't. There was a long pause and a long silence. The spider, who happened to be a female spider, opened her mouth and ran a long black tongue delicately over her lips. "Aren't you hungry?" she asked suddenly, leaning forward and addressing herself to James. Poor James was backed up against the far wall, shivering with fright and much too terrified to answer. "What's the matter with you?" the old green grasshopper asked. "You look positively ill." "He looks as though he's going to faint any second," said the centipede. "Oh my goodness, the poor thing," the ladybug cried. "I do believe he thinks it's him we are wanting to eat." There was a roar of laughter from all sides. Oh dear, they said. "What an awful thought." "You mustn't be frightened," the ladybug said kindly. "We wouldn't dream of hurting you. You are one of us now. Didn't you know that? You are one of the crew. We're all in the same boat." That's an expression. They weren't really in a boat. It just means we're all doing the same thing at the same time. Kind of like quarantine, right? We're all doing this at the same time. "We've all been waiting for you all day long," said the old green grasshopper. We thought you were never going to turn up. I'm so glad that you made it. So cheer up, my boy, cheer up, the centipede said. And meanwhile, I wish you'd come over here and give me a hand with these boots. It takes me hours to get them all off by myself. Do you remember that he had so many boots on? That would take so long. Chapter 12. James decided that this was most certainly not a time to be disagreeable, so he crossed the room to where the centipede was sitting and knelt down beside him. Thank you so much, the centipede said. You are very kind. You have a lot of boots, James murmured. I have a lot of legs, the centipede said proudly, and a lot of feet, 100 to be exact. There he goes again, the earthworm cried, speaking for the first time. He simply cannot stop telling lies about his legs. He doesn't have anything like 100 of them. He's only got 42. The trouble is that most people don't bother to count them. They just take his word for it. And anyway, there's nothing marvelous, centipede, about having a lot of legs. Poor fellow, the centipede said, whispering in James' ear. He's blind. He can't see how splendid I look. In my opinion, the earthworm said, the really marvelous things is to have no legs at all and to be able to walk just the same. You call that walking? Said the centipede. You're a slitherer. That's all you are. You just slither along. I glide, the earthworm said primly. You are a slimy beast, said the centipede. I'm not a slimy beast, said the earthworm. I am useful and a much-loved creature. Ask any gardener you like. As for you, I am a pest, the centipede said. He announced it, grinning broadly, looking around the room for approval. He's so proud of that, said the ladybug, smiling at James, though for the life of me I cannot understand why. I'm the only pest in the room, said the centipede, still grinning, unless you count old green grasshopper over there. But he is long past it now. He's too old to even be a pest anymore. Let me show you a picture of James helping the centipede with all his shoes. That would take so long. Even if he only has 42 feet, that would take so long to put all that on. Old green grasshopper turned his huge black eyes upon the centipede and gave him a withering look. Young fellow, he said, I have never been a pest in my life. I am a musician. Hear, hear, said the ladybug. James, the centipede said. Your name is James, isn't it? Yes. Yes, well, James, have you ever in your life seen such a marvelous colossal centipede as me? I certainly haven't, said James. How on earth did you get to be like that? Very peculiar, the centipede said. Very, very peculiar indeed. Let me tell you what happened. I was messing about in the garden under the old peach tree, and suddenly a funny little green thing came wriggling past my nose. Bright green it was, and extraordinarily beautiful, and it looked like some kind of a tiny stone or crystal. I know what those are. You know what he's talking about? Oh, but I know what that was, cried James. Yeah, that happened to me too, said the ladybug. And me, said Miss Spider. Suddenly there were little green things everywhere and the soil was full of them. I actually swallowed one, the earthworm declared proudly. So did I, the ladybug said. I swallowed 3, the centipede said. But who's telling this story anyway? Don't interrupt. It's too late to tell stories now, the old green grasshopper announced. It's time to go to sleep. I refuse to sleep in my boots, the centipede said. How many more are there to come off, James? I think I've done like 20 so far, James said. Then that leaves 80 to go, the centipede said. 22, not 80, said the earthworm. He's lying again. The centipede roared with laughter. Stop pulling the earthworm's leg, the ladybug said. This sent the centipede into hysterics. Pulling his leg, he cried, wriggling with glee and pointing at the earthworm. Which leg am I pulling? You tell me that. James decided that he rather liked the centipede. He was obviously a rascal, but what a change it was to hear somebody laughing once in a while. He had never heard Aunt Sponge or Aunt Spiker laughing aloud in all the time he had been with them. We really must get some sleep, the old green grasshopper said. We've got a tough day ahead of us tomorrow. So would you be kind enough, Miss Spider, to make the beds? And that is the end of chapter 12 and where we're going to stop for today. All right, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow.